52, 50 and 50, 50 vlogs in 50 days. Huge thanks to Genetics for their support over the last while and for the rest of the series. Today we're going to talk about anti-inflammatories. Tends to be a little bit of confusion about anti-inflammatories versus painkillers. Really simple message today, and that is they're a fantastic medical tool when we look at treating animals on our farms for a various number of reasons. I'll give some examples. We must remember in our food production systems that pain limits performance, and we must limit pain. You know, like why, I suppose, pain, inflammation, better treatment, better outcomes, better welfare, of course, goes without saying. So painkillers and anti-inflammatories have a real role to play. And we tend to, when we look at medicines, now these are prescription medicines, so this is a conversation on specific anti-inflammatories which are vet. I just want to get people thinking about their role potentially in beef, dairy, and in sheep. I'll mention at the very end. But if we think about lameness, and this is something I experienced a lot of over the last couple of months. We talk about lameness, do lameness workshops, you know, what's the best treatment? Antibiotics seem to come into our head, even though most of our lamenesses are functional or mechanical lamenesses, like sole ulcers, and they're quite painful. You know, any swelling or pain, that will be painful for the animal, reduce function, slow recovery. And what inflammation is just a body's reaction, inflammatory cells to a stimulus, or I suppose if I hit my thumb with a hammer, or you know, chronic inflammation from infection or damaged tissue. So if we can reduce down inflammation with anti-inflammatory medication, and that's why we call them anti-inflammatories, we reduce down pain as well. So to me they're the same thing, anti-inflammatories. So think about lame animals, that's a use, but particularly for routine procedures. This is something I think a lot of farmers can start doing. And what I started telling people to do was, a classic example is dehorning or debudding calves. Now we use local anaesthetic, apologies for the artwork, to block the nerve, that local anaesthetic, and that's a legal requirement when we're dehorning animals. But that will wear off after 3 to 4 hours, same as you go to the dentist and you get a local anaesthetic. There's still going to be a bit of inflammation 24 to 48 hours after, chronic inflammation there and pain. And with these calves we want to absolutely have no stress whatsoever. So any stress can really affect immunity and open the door for disease. So what I say to farmers is, when you're dehorning calves, absolutely local anaesthetic, but absolutely as well put an anti-inflammatory medication in the same time. And you know, if you want to see the results, and what I've got farmers to do is, if you get 10 calves, do 5 with local anaesthetic, do 5 with local anaesthetic and anti-inflammatories, come back to them about 8 to 12 hours after, look at the difference. It absolutely makes sense. So it's a really practical application of it, not just for your pain and inflammation, but really practical application. If I look on a treatment side, if we think about some common diseases that I've covered already, pneumonia, mastitis. Again, mastitis is inflammation of the udder, pneumonia is inflammation of the lungs. So even though we might have bacterial infections there, we want to reduce down that inflammation. Anti-inflammatories take down temperature to help. You know, we know and can experience them ourselves when we use the Nurophens or the paracetamols, the ibuprofens. You know, so in pneumonia and clinical mastitis, as part of your treatment programs, have that discussion about your vet about, you know, okay, we always tend to rush for antibiotics, but the role of anti-inflammatories, pneumonia, mastitis. Another one, really, calving time. Hard calving, you know, painful calving. Again, the vaginal wall and womb of the cow is highly innervated, and any inflammation there will slow down recovery, the appetite, particularly when we want cows to eat. So another excellent time to roll out your anti-inflammatories. Finally, the last one is sheep. Sheep are an incredible animal. So ruminant animals, they're a herd species, they're an animal of prey. So sheep are particularly good at this, at hiding pain because they're waiting for the wolf. They don't want to show that weakness, so they can hide pain incredibly well. It doesn't mean they don't suffer from pain, but they hide pain really well. So if we think about when we see sick sheep, they've really gone a long way before we can actually pick them up clinically, because they're hiding it. So One thing I discovered in practice a long time ago, particularly at lambing time, was where I started using anti-inflammatory medication after a hard lambing. The results of the recoveries of the sheep were so much better. Now in Ireland, and I think in the UK, we've no licensed product for sheep, an anti-inflammatory, with something the Australians do. We need to work on that, but they are available under Cascade. We need to use them more in sheep, particularly at lambing time. But think about it, if the sheep is good at hiding pain, we want to stop pain because it limits our performance on farm. Start utilising more anti-inflammatories in your sheep farm for better results. I was so shocked at the results at lambing time with sheep. It just really transformed the way I thought about sheep actually, and the results we got after a hard lambing. So of course you might need antibiotics, but that anti-inflammatory for the ewe makes such a difference after a hard lambing. Okay, so anti-inflammatory is kind of a simple one today. They're very useful medications. They are prescription medicines. You need to talk to your vet about particularly which ones you apply. But certainly they have a huge role to play in farm animal medicine, and I just want to see people using more of them. That's the simple message today. Okay, thought for today, and I had an experience of this morning. Just simple, always seems impossible until it's done. Break down tasks one step at a time and you'll get there. I think it was Nelson Mandela said that, but it is very true. So it always seems impossible until it's done. Happy safe farming, everyone.